Hey y'all, come on in. A lot of people have been tagging me in that video of Scott Galloway talking about the men's loneliness epidemic and how sad it is that the men can no longer get dates and stuff like that. And so I will definitely be making a TikTok video about that, but I wanted to record a longer version for YouTube. You guys know how I do, so. What's up, everyone? Pixie Lou says loneliness isn't just men, is it? Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that they don't talk about. It's like if all the men are not getting dates and all the men are not finding women, then how do you think the women feel? Like, what are the women doing supposedly? I don't know. It's kind of like, shouldn't we feel bad for everyone? Like, if we're going to feel bad for the men, why don't we feel bad for the women who have like absolutely no men to choose from? Brianna says, can I ask your age? I thought 28. Thank you so much. I'm 33 and I don't want to go off on a whole nother tangent, but I was also going to make a video about the other recent trend where the girlies are like, every time I think about being in a relationship, I remember how my old one had me looking. And I'm like, wow, we've been talking about this for a long time, obviously, like on my channel and stuff, but it still is like shocking to see how much of a parasite men tend to be. Like, even visually, you see that these women are like devoid of life in those, relationship photos. Yeah, I'd be suing for damages for sure. Thanks, y'all. Thank you for saying nice things. I try not to put too much, stock in my appearance because I know it's all gonna go eventually. I just try to take care of my body the best I can, and it kind of, I feel like your biological age is really what matters the most. Yeah, so, okay, let's dig into the topic at hand. Let me just get comfortable here. Yeah, so first things first, what really backfired on men here is that they tried to start a loneliness epidemic on women, right? They really were like, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and talk shit about every single kind of woman as much as we can for as long as we can. We're gonna talk about women with high body counts, women with low body counts. I reposted a video of this lovely young woman talking about this, and she just hit the nail on the head. She's like, what were they expecting to happen, right? Like, they were in here talking down on women, and it's like, women are on the internet too. We can fucking hear you guys. Like, we can fucking see what you're saying. So pardon us, fucking forgive us if we don't want to be in relationships with men who literally think that no woman is good enough for them. Meanwhile, the only thing they have going for them is like a 40-hour-a-week job as like a Walgreens manager. Like, not to like, not to like go too hard in the paint, but like, it's like you're not really bringing that much to the table. Like, you can't cook, you can't clean, you can't do jack shit around the house. You wouldn't know what to do with a kid. Like, you expect women to do so much while you want to do so little. You want to work like a basic, barely above minimum wage type of job, and you want women to be impressed with that because it's quote unquote hard, quote unquote, to work for 8 hours a day, but you want women on the clock 24. Like, kids don't just shut off, you realize, after 8 hours a day. Like, your kid does not power down and go into sleep mode. And your wife can't just leave her job at her job. Like, her job follows her everywhere. Her job starts throwing up in the middle of the night at like 3 a.m., coming into the bedroom talking about, mommy, I threw up. Yeah, that's like, most men could never deal with that. So the guy's video that I'm referring to, this man named Scott Galloway, who, I think a lot of people, when he first started doing interviews, I think a lot of people are kind of intrigued because he wasn't shying away from like men's like behavior and kind of how they're causing their own loneliness epidemic. But I don't know, like, maybe this video is being taken out of context or whatever. But so he started saying like, a man of average attractiveness will swipe right, like da 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 da, and get like 5 coffee dates out of that. And then out of those 5 coffee dates, 4 are gonna ghost him. So, and I'm like, sir, I'm gonna stop you right there where you said a man of average attractiveness. I think most women would be done right then and there because we are tired of being told that we have to look our best, dressed up to the nines on like every first date that we go on. Right? We have to always look our best, you know, even as a stay-at-home mom, like there's like pressure to put on makeup before your husband comes home or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, just right then and there, the men are not putting forth equal effort. Men will literally close and save their video game, roll off the couch in their cargo shorts, and go to a coffee date with a woman and be like, I paid for the coffee, so now I have expectations. Or like, you better be paying for your own coffee because I just want to see where this goes. And it's like, dude, I put on an amount of makeup that probably will, in the long run, cost me more than that coffee. Like $6 or $7. It's like a couple drops of like certain foundation is like $6 or $7 at this point in this day and age. So like, when you're talking about men of average attractiveness, you're talking about a guy with a bad haircut, a bad haircut, a terrible hygiene, terrible sense of style, you know, absolutely nothing to offer. And it's like right then and there, I already don't blame women for not really wanting to show up to these dates because it's like, the guys will be like, oh, let's go for an ice cream date. Let's go for a walk. Let's da 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 da. But they expect you to dress to the nines and do your makeup to the nines, like as if you would if you're going out for dinner. So what's the difference? Like, how is this worth my time? Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of men will be like, oh, it's ridiculous to ask a guy to pay on the first day. Okay, it's ridiculous to ask a girl to not show up in her sweatpants, like not show up like with her makeup not done. You know what I mean? If you're going to go for a walk and call that a date, you better be okay that I'm going to show up in my sweats and my big t-shirt. I'm not even going to put on the cute athleisure because then I'd have to worry about, you know, looking a certain way. Like, oh, do I got to suck in? Oh, what if I bend over? Nope. I'm going to dress for my maximum comfort. I'm going to not do my hair, not do my makeup, and then we can just judge each other as exactly as we are. You know, and that'll be that. I just don't think most men would like that because if you take all of that a step further, a lot of guys will be like, yeah, take her swimming on the first date and stuff like that. Okay, take me swimming. I won't wear makeup to begin with. But you know when they're really gonna freak out and get their panties in a bunch is when you don't put forth an enormous amount of effort as a girlfriend, right? If when it comes to like emotional labor, if you don't put any in, if you as the woman don't bother to like text back or, you know, be timely with your communications or just drop off the face of the earth every couple of days, all of that, okay, most men are not gonna like that. They're going to break up with you immediately. If you show up or if he shows up to your house and you haven't like cleaned, cooked, made everything look nice, he's going to be like, what am I here for? Right? If you're like, oh yeah, we can order a pizza or something like that, most men will get offended that you invited them over and then you didn't like immediately start showing yourself off to be like wifey material and like cooking and cleaning and doing all that stuff. A lot of men really like that. They like when women try to quote unquote like show off for them like that. And they don't like women who don't do that. Meanwhile, mind you, all I've described so far about the man is that he has shown up. They expect to put in zero effort when they go on these dates. And they expect you to put in 1,000% effort, right? They would never go out of their way to hide their blemishes from you, right? They would never go out of their way to make their hair like shiny and like soft and curl it or straighten it or whatever based on like preference, based on whatever. So they don't even like care how they put clothes together. You know, most men will not have a single lick of a fashion sense until they get together with a woman. And then she starts sort of like having a vision. She puts his wardrobe together. She like gifts him things. And this is how men level up. They level up when they're in these relationships with you because they fully expect you to perform a lot of labor, like a lot of labor. So just right then and there, when they're talking about like a man of average attractiveness, like as a woman, you have already lost most of us because like my life honestly changed and I met my husband when I decided, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to date like men date. I'm going to date for looks and for value. Cause me, I'm a very non-binary type of neurodivergent. So it's like I call it exactly how I see it, right? And my life really changed when I said, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what am I doing? You know, none of these guys are even close to the kind of man that I grew up with as my father. They're useless. They are not kind. They are not smart. They are not handsome. They are not like attractive to me in any way. And I have been brainwashed by society to give ugly men a chance because, men have a loneliness epidemic. It's always the guys that are the most self-conscious about their own looks that they always are like, oh yeah, I don't get with anyone but a baddie, etc. And then they proceed to run her self-esteem into the ground. Every gorgeous, gorgeous girl that has ever dated a man who is way outside of who she is way out of his league has been burnt. You should never give ugly guys a chance. So right then and there, when we're starting off with a man of average attractiveness, you've already lost me. The average attractiveness for a man is so far below the average attractiveness of a woman. And it's like, yeah, you can say whatever you want about makeup and hair and clothes and stuff, but the bottom line is, I don't know why you're so upset when y'all are the ones that created capitalism, the free market, the illusion of choice, etc. Why are you so upset? I thought this was the system that y'all set up, and this is the system that you like, right? We can't have no communism. If we can't have communism when it comes to money, we sure as fuck can't have communism when it comes to women. Like, what do you mean? You gotta earn it, right? And so right then and there, the women have told you that you don't have what they're looking for, and you're complaining. This is just the free market working as intended, baby. Now that women are free, what do you have to offer us? What do you bring to the table? That's the question for men. And it's like you want us to feel sorry for the, 4 out of 5 coffee dates that are going to ghost these men. But are you even a little bit curious about how these men show up to dates and how they act when they show up to those dates? Like, what are they doing? What are they saying? Are they asking these women questions? Are they, literally, what are they offering other than their presence? Like, men are in princess mode, and I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think that they want women at this point. It's like somehow there's like a paradox happening where men are like, I don't want independent women, but also I don't want to pay for a woman. I don't want to do anything for a woman. I just want to be a princess in the relationship. And you just can't have it both ways. Like, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. Women don't get to say that. Women have to put in cold, hard labor. Anytime they quote unquote want something, it's like, well, you got to earn it, right? Even our participation in the workforce, like, we had to earn it. We had to quote unquote prove that we were willing to compete with men, that we were just as good at, everything in the workforce as men were. And it's like, okay, but now this has put men into simultaneously princess mode, but also into a rage that I can't really explain or understand. It's like, what did you want? You just wanted women to feel inadequate. Like, the men were actually so delusional about their little quote unquote role in society that this is what happens when you overestimate your value. This is what I'm telling. Like, if you're a man and you're in here, you might want to listen up, because this guy is just giving you reasons to feel sorry for yourself, right? He's not actually helping the men grow or anything like that. So what I'm telling you, men, is that you have overestimated your value. And I've been saying this for a long time, right? And I don't remember if you ladies remember this. Most of us have forgotten about this, some weird, a bad dream that you wake up from in the middle of the night going what did this really happen? But I don't know if y'all remember when the men started their little drizzle movement. That lasted for about a fucking day. That lasted for about a day before they shut the fuck up real quick, because they had nothing to show for it, right? If there were men that were able to successfully pull off this kind of, drizzle lifestyle, where are they? Where are all of them at? So the women didn't come running to y'all. The women didn't, fall to their knees and start worshiping y'all because you still have no value. You're asking to be overvalued by a market that doesn't have a demand for you. You're a clearance rack item at this point, right? Yeah, and that's, the things that women were asking for were the bare minimum, the bare basics. And men were like, no. And it's like, okay, well, so no. And it's like, okay, well, so now you are literally experiencing the consequences of your own actions. You act like you are undervalued when in fact you are very overvalued. And the more that you insist that you are undervalued, the more women come to realize that you're overvalued. It's a closed loop. Like, you're not going anywhere. You're not making any progress, because instead of becoming more valuable, you just keep arguing and yapping online, talking about the loneliness epidemic and how nobody cares about you. Do women need to remind you that you didn't give a shit about us ever? Right? Do women need to remind you that y'all are the ones that made and voted for restrictions on our freedom? Why the fuck would I ever give a shit about men's loneliness epidemic? The only way in which I'm willing to care about it is, how does it affect me? And what I'm doing about it is I'm buying a GUN, because when men get lonely, women get hurt. Okay, so I don't give a fuck. I couldn't care less. Because even when y'all are lonely, the only thing you give a fuck about is getting yours and hurting us. And you sat there while women had their rights taken away again after 50 years of relative freedom. Y'all couldn't even handle it. Y'all couldn't even, where are all the good men that most of you are supposed to be? Where are all the good men that came out to protest women losing the rights to their bodies? Where were they? Absolutely nowhere to be found. So guess where the fuck I'm gonna be while the men's loneliness epidemic continues to unfold? Yeah, I'm gonna be at home. And I really do not give two fucks what happens to men who are experiencing the male loneliness epidemic. Okay, because if you are experiencing that, that means you have nothing to offer society. Women have never had the privilege of having nothing to offer society, and at the same time complaining that society is not like giving them something back in return, right? Women have always been told, oh, you want to be valued, you have to be valuable. And then God forbid women apply that to men and say, I have my own money, I can perform all the labor I need to survive, and I don't want to perform extra labor. So you'll need to pitch in. And men are like, women aren't even women anymore. Women aren't even feminine anymore. Yeah, because that was, first of all, never feminine. You know, all of those things and tasks that housewives and stay-at-home moms do, those are all like disciplined, rigid, etc. tasks that were just never properly valued. You know, being in their feminine is what women are doing now. And being in their feminine for women actually means that women go their own way. The thing that men always dream of being able of doing, and they just can't. And so that's basically the male loneliness epidemic summed up in the best way that I can really sum it up. The only value that men have ever offered women was to hoard everything valuable, or to create false value and false scarcity around things that they kept from women, and then to dole it out to women based on how much the women were willing to compromise their own safety and freedom and independence in order to receive the resources that they probably desperately needed just to survive. And that is inhumane. Like, the way that men have been treating women for thousands of years is literally inhumane, right? They have tried to make us equal to animals, pets that you keep in the house until they no longer serve their purpose, and then you take them out back and shoot them. Which is, I know sounds like I'm being extreme, but that shit happens every 5 days in the US alone. So when you look around at all the other countries and you add up, you know, all the literal, like, women that literally get taken out back and unalived by their husbands, it's actually like an epidemic. That's the epidemic, right? And it's like, how the fuck are you gonna do that at such a rate and then claim that you have a loneliness epidemic? No, those are just the results of your actions. Like, if women are like, okay, putting together patterns of like true crime, putting together patterns of like how often these things are happening, putting together the violence statistics between men versus women, it's like, you're not experiencing a loneliness epidemic. Women are experiencing a danger epidemic from men. Women are experiencing an unaliving epidemic, an abuse epidemic. what do the people that are perpetrating that deserve? Like, what the fuck? Those aren't even real consequences. All right, let me read some comments. Samaya says, have you seen the men that make videos about you? Yes. Victims, all victims of the loneliness epidemic. They're definitely very lonely. And honestly, I don't even bother anymore because these men can't speak coherently. Like every time I've tried to watch a video that a man has made, like about me or my content, or even just about the kind of content that me and my mutuals make in general, I'm like, I can't even follow your train of thought. You just sound angry and upset. Like you sound like your butthole is clenched really tight. Like you sound just big mad. Like, okay, like get your thoughts together, take a breath, and record when you're ready. Like they always think they can record a video in one take, no editing. Like I'm not gonna fucking sit through all that. That's what I mean. Like your privilege has made you weak. Like you can't even communicate your thoughts. Like women are on such a level of thought above men at this point. Like I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Talking to a lot of men feels like talking to a toddler. They can't talk about anything but themselves. They have no interest in anything but themselves. And they have absolutely like no ability to conversate or communicate or like keep up a conversation or have an original thought or anything like that. Like why the fuck would I engage with their videos that they make about me when I speak at like a college comprehension level and they have the comprehension of a second grader? Couldn't pass a civics test, couldn't pass a reading, writing, spelling, math test to get into like high school or college. What am I going to sit here and do? Waste my time trying to spoon feed them information that just doesn't fit into their brains? Like, I can't. The men that are able to understand and comprehend this information have been watching my videos for a long time and agree. And they know that it's going to benefit them to know this information. And it's going to give them an edge and it's going to make their own life better. Like, I'm not saying any of this shit to flex on men or to like make men feel bad about themselves. I don't give a fuck how you feel about yourself. You know, y'all go out here and you nag women every day. You're trying to make us feel bad about ourselves every day. Every single time that I speak, open my mouth to speak, especially on a live, there's a bunch of men in my comments trying to make me feel insecure, bashing my appearance, bashing my husband, you know, telling me, oh, wait till you turn 30, wait till you turn 40, wait till you're alone for the rest of your life. Why the fuck would I care that y'all are lonely? Clearly y'all are, right? Like the kid that was an asshole to all the other kids on the playground had no friend. That is what you're the equivalent of as a man. Like if you are coming in here trying to insult my appearance, my relationship status, but like tell me about like cats or dying alone or whatever, I don't give a fuck. You are a friendless loner because you act like this, right? The men that get this, the men that know what's good for them, they don't argue with this information because it's true. It's true. And the sooner you accept that, the better off you will be. I fucking promise you. You think I like doing this? Y'all think this is fun for me to be in such a like negative leaning space all the time because men just invent new ways to try and like hurt, upset, silence, you know, abuse women, unalive women every single day. Y'all think this shit is fun? You think it's fun to talk about, you know, yet another woman that was unalived for being unsubmissive? Y'all think it's fucking fun to sit here and talk about women who have wasted 7 to 10 years of their life in relationships with their dusty ass boyfriends who moved on to the next in like less than a week? Y'all think this shit is fun? Y'all think if I had a choice, this is really what I'd be like talking about? No, god damn. Sorry, y'all. I meant to read more comments. Okay, let's see. Yeah, like, look, my top comment, relax your eyebrows, girl. This is my resting face. How the fuck am I gonna relax them? Like, it's crazy. Ashley, the artista, says they'd never go out of their way and read a book about emotional intelligence. Exactly. But we're supposed to go out of our way, and dress nice and put on makeup and sit through a horrible coffee date with a man who has no social skills, no style, no personality, like watches the same television show over and over, and it's either Rick and Morty, Futurama, or like I don't even know another one. Joe Rogan. Like I'm supposed to like be excited to put on makeup and go on a date and listen to somebody talk about Joe Rogan for 2 hours? Fuck that. Like men would never go out of their way for you like that. Ashley follows up. She says that they just sink into their toxicity and expect you to do the labor to pull them out. Exactly. Exactly. And they don't want to pay for that, right? Do you know how much they'd have to pay a therapist for that? A lot. And they're broke, so they cannot afford the services that they're requesting. They keep asking, what do women bring to the table? And it's like, women, I need you to flip that question around. Does that man have more to offer you than a mediocre job? No? Then great. Like, they're too broke to be having schmecks with women because women risk pregnancy every time they have schmeck. And ladies, you need to take that more seriously because I don't know. I grew up watching, 16 and pregnant. You couldn't pay me to have schmecks with a guy until I was like really, really ready to like deal with that. And like even then I was like, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm too scared every time. Like women need to be a lot more afraid. Sorry, but these men will get you pregnant and then leave. So, let's see. Yeah, Ruby says my ex didn't start putting on cologne until I told him to, but yet I was always done up. Yeah, they don't care. They don't care that they stink. They don't care that they like don't look good. They don't care that they have no social skills. Like you're just supposed to take them on as a project. Are you aware, says I'm in my mid 60s and have my own low-key style and don't expect a woman to dress me nor dress quote unquote wifey. Okay. If it doesn't apply, let it fly, sir. Leah Kleiner says, yes, we are not shunning men, but asking them to step up their game if they want a woman around. Exactly. Like women factually and statistically improve the lives of men. Like when a man gets with a woman, his life expectancy goes up, his health markers go up, right? His career skyrockets. Married men make 11% more than single men, but they don't want to pay for a date. Be lonely then. Do it on your own then. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, do it on your own then. Random says, drizzle drizzle was a joke. You really don't get that. It stopped in a day because we went to work. I love this. It's giving, yeah, I was just joking. I wasn't really asking you out. I was just joking. That's what it's giving. It failed. It's okay to admit that. It failed. Y'all don't have any market value. That's not my fault. Red says, I'm currently on a housework strike until my partner recognizes it has value. Why don't you just be on a partner strike? By doing a housework strike, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, right? Because he's probably not going to give a shit. Like, men are really willing to like go out of their way to be a burden. I'm not even joking. They will go out of their way to be a burden. And to really like help you, quote unquote, help you realize that they're never going to step up. So you really should be on a partner strike if you can financially. But this is why, ladies, they're going to try to trap you financially. And then they're going to say, fuck your strike. Like you're stuck. ASAP April says they've never had consequences. Consequences look like oppression. Exactly. Exactly. They're like, no, but I was just supposed to go to work and a wife was supposed to fall into my lap. Like, no, sorry, friends. That's not how it works. Maru says they literally unalive us and think nothing of it, but they cry about how cruel we are when we just ignore them. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that was like a lot of men's takeaway from adolescence. They were like, well, if she just hadn't bullied him, he wouldn't have unalived her. And it's like, stop and think about what you just said. Stop and think about what you just said. How are those two things the same, right? You could say like, oh, well, he wouldn't have bullied her back if she didn't bully him first. That tracks. He wouldn't have stopped talking to her if she didn't bully him. That tracks. He wouldn't have blocked her on Instagram if she wouldn't have bullied him. That tracks. He wouldn't have unalived her if she hadn't bullied him. That does not track. One of those things is very different than the other thing. I think a man says 90% of men are simps. You are delusional if there are dangerous. If 90% of men were simps, they wouldn't be in a loneliness epidemic. Because it's really that simple. Yeah, the amount of political men in power with SA charges tells me there's no consequences. Yeah, President of the United States, leader of the free world, grab him by the you-know-what. And I really think that this election, especially in the US, was like just men responding to women. Like this is the men's loneliness epidemic in action. They're like, oh, we'll literally vote a rapist into office just to like flex on just to flex on women. And then you wonder why the fuck you're lonely. Why? I don't know. Like, what if women treated men like this? What if women like thousands of years ago decided that We're the ones with the wombs. We're the ones that create life. We're the ones that, really have all the power. We're the ones that can, extract value out of men and money out of men just with our presence. And what if we made laws being like men can't go to work? They don't know what it's like to give birth. They don't know what it's like to, breastfeed or like raise anything or like give life or anything. So they should never have to go to work. And they should learn housekeeping skill if they want to survive. Like, I wonder how men would feel. And I wonder how men would feel if for thousands of years, all the like leaders in charge of things were women. Didn't have a P in between their legs, but had a V instead. And women were the ones that went to school and like ran everything. And not because they were actually naturally better at it, just arbitrarily. Because we didn't like men. We didn't like how men act when they're empowered, quote unquote. And men had to march for their rights. And men had to march, to have access to money and work and bank accounts and all that stuff. Like, I just wonder how they would feel. And then we would like throw it in their face, like, okay, well, now that you have a bank account, now that you can go to work, now you can do all that, what else do you bring to the table? Because really, you're taken away from me at that point. When you go to work, you're taken away from me because I need somebody to watch my kids. I need somebody to cook my meals. So like, what are you going to bring to the table other than you going to work? And like, just wonder how they would feel. Listen, guys, if you like Rick and Morty, I think that's great. I think it's all good. There's just a little bit of an overlap in the Venn diagram of like guys who have like no personality and huge fans of Rick and Morty. Like, there's just a little tiny overlap there that I've noted. Listen, I'm just neurodivergent. I notice patterns. It's not going to be true for everyone. It's a pattern, right? Not everything falls into a pattern. Like, there's always outliers. Pinja says, I'm scared how my brothers will end up because they live with my emotionally unavailable dad. Probably not good. And you as a woman will not be able to help him. But unless he wants to be helped, unless he sees the matrix, for what it is. Bluey says, will you be doing videos on dating? Guys, I'm not a dating guru. I have seriously dated maybe like 2 men in my life, and one of them is my husband. Because I just wouldn't like, the key to dating is really just is always putting yourself first as a woman. That's really the key to dating. And I say that every day in different ways. But the real truth about dating is that like 99% of men are not even trying to do the bare minimum for you. That's the real game on dating. And so the faster, the only way, if you are looking for a man, like if you have like decentered men, you have all the resources you need, right? I don't advise ever that women get married unless they have their own income, their own savings, etc., and can always get out. Divorce has always been an option for me. Divorce will always be an option for me. That's always on the table. So you shouldn't even be looking to get married until you have your life together, because that is the most dangerous thing you can do with a man, is like get married and have no exit plan, right? Even if your life is not all the way together, but like you have a social safety net you can fall back on, etc. But really, the only person you can really count on is yourself. So I would say get your ducks in a row and have enough money to always be able to leave and never tell him about that money. Never, ever, ever. I swear to God, never tell him about that money. And then you can start dating and like looking around to get married. But the key to that is if and only if you have decided that you want a partnership like that, fully like merge your lives together, that kind of thing with a man. The biggest key to that is going to be saying no to the 99% of men that are going to show up at your doorstep trying to treat you like shit, before there's going to be one guy that just doesn't. And you'll never have to ask him. Like, I can tell you all that for sure. My husband treats me right every single day. And I've never had to write him a paragraph. I've never had to stand there and like explain to him how to treat me like a human being. Like, we all have our quirks. We all have we grew up different, so we do certain things different, right? But it's never anything that I would have to be like, you're fundamentally like disrespecting me as a human being. And so once you get to that point where you're like, I'm not even willing to be with a man unless he's giving me something I can't provide for myself, then you've cracked dating. And basically, the key is to stay in the game long enough to reject the majority of men and then end up with the one man that you don't have to like ask. You don't have to tell him. He's already emotionally intelligent, etc. And that's the only way. You never get with a man for his potential. The man that you see in front of you, if he stayed like that for the rest of his life, would you be okay with it? If the answer is yes, then great, go for it. Dominica says, do you think there is some chance for men to reflect and get better? There's always that chance. That chance is there every single day. Today, tomorrow, and forever on. It has been there for hundreds of thousands of years. But men are not willing to be self-aware enough. They're not willing to be self-critical enough, and they're not willing to admit that the game that they're playing is rigged in their favor. And when they do that, then maybe they'll start to improve. Leah Kleiner says the bar has been so low for them and now they're paying for it with quote unquote loneliness. Exactly. Yeah. And Divine says, and they have the audacity to judge how much effort we put in. Exactly. They're like, oh, I like women who don't wear makeup, but you should wear more makeup. You should wear more makeup though. Oh yeah, I like women that are natural, but your body is trash. You should get a BBL. You need to get some liposuction. You need to go to the gym. Now you're lonely. Okay. Because meanwhile, women are supposed to obsess over dad bods. Like, so you're literally like glamorizing men being unfit while it's women's fault that when their husbands cheat on them because the women have let themselves go, etc. Like, makes no sense. The sooner you just like reconcile that in your head as a woman, that it's really all about just control and manipulation of women, it's all of men's behavior will make sense. Like, well, why is it that like after we broke up, my ex was able to get with someone in like a week? And not only that, but he was doing everything that I ever asked him to do, and he was doing all that for her. That's why. Oh, and the third thing is that men don't like women. Like, it's all about manipulation, control. It's all about keeping you in their place. And it's all about the fact that there's a lot more men than you think that are not attracted to women in any way. Because like when women are attracted to men, they try to have something to offer so that because we're attracted to men, right? Like it's really that simple. You're attracted, so you try to show value so that your, preferred mate will have an attraction back to you. So you have to think, if a man is not doing things to try and be attractive to you, that's not normal. That's not normal. You do things in order to be attractive to him. And if he knows what you like or what women like in general, or you've probably specifically told him, etc., and he's not doing that, it is because he doesn't like women, right? But then like all of these other things about men's behavior really fall into like these several categories, right? Either they want to control and objectify women, thank you, or they just don't like women. And honestly, it's probably all just the same bucket. It's one of those like quote unquote recycle and trash bins that's like divided, but really it's all going into one place. Like that's how it is. Some of it just presents differently. Random says, how do you know that women come after success? Yes, because that is what men have glamorized in our society, right? And also if women could go after anything else. So if y'all had anything else to offer other than like metrics of success, women would go after that. Because you know what else women go for? Women go for emotional intelligence. They love that shit, right? Women go for like Riz even. There's some guys that are butt ass ugly and they still get all the women because they have Riz. Women also go for stylish men. Like when a guy has style, it's very hard for him to keep the ladies off of him. Women go for all kinds of things. Women like artsy dudes, women like emotional dudes, women like the jocks, women like successful men. There's a lot of women that are seemingly even attracted to unsuccessful men, right? They're like, I can fix him. This is a project. So you're like fucking lying anyway. There's so many women that are right now laying up with a man on a mattress that is on the floor, saving up their money to buy him a fucking bed frame. I swear to God. There's probably about 50,000 of them on TikTok right now as we fucking speak. So no, women don't go for success. I wish that were the case. Then y'all's little 80-20 thing would actually be true, but it's not true. And you hate that. Marshall says, I get secondhand embarrassment from a lot of other men, even when they're successful with women. That's a man that knows what's up. I feel like my husband also does because he is very impervious to like male peer pressure. I've never seen him like fall victim to that, and that's very lucky because I would get the ick. Don't be a little sheep. All right. Is Burb in the comments? Hi, Burb. Make men lonelier. I know that's right. Travis says, is this just a man bashing live? If it applies, then yes. If it doesn't apply, then let it fly. Nobody's bashing you. Travis also says men do not care about any of that cosmetic stuff. Women do that for themselves. Okay. When we do it for ourselves, y'all don't like it though. Like when women really like Lady Gaga, men don't like her. Men don't like her makeup. It's like it's very confusing. And it's also like if women do that for themselves, then let us do it for ourselves. Like women don't like a lot of the shit that men do. And guess what? We just deal with it. Anna says, have you watched or talked about adolescence yet? And I have a long video about it on my YouTube, and we do a review of it in our latest podcast episode. Zach says it's like a child refusing to acknowledge that they're in the wrong. You just have to not associate. Yeah. Annabella says, where are you finding these men? I'm not. I found a good man. Got lucky, honestly. That's why I don't think women should be looking for men. My life does not revolve around keeping a man or finding a man or doing anything with a man. If he provides value, we're good. But, because that's how men treat you. Remember, I'm not saying nothing radical. Like, men will hear me talk like this and be like, oh my God, you hate men. It's so radical. How many of y'all would get with a woman if she was like, I don't care about making you food. I don't care about cleaning up after you. I don't care about your you know what, if I'm like doing stuff to you, or like I'm going down on you, or I'm like giving you a handy and you don't, nothing happens after like 30 seconds, I'm gonna just be like, and this is too, like, I'm not really into this, and just leave you high and dry. How about that? Because that's what most women experience in bed from men. And we didn't even, like, imagine we just got here talking about the men's loneliness epidemic, and we just got to the part of where we start to talk about the O gap. Like, we just got to that part, which is like one of the most important things to men. Like, they will watch so much porn. They will expect you to act like a porn star in bed. They will expect you to like hang from a chandelier and like suck it from the back and all this stuff. And it's like, what do you do? What do you bring to the table? What do you offer there? Do you care about her pleasure, or have you just come in with like an endless list of kinks that you're going to keep watching porn and like keep pressuring her further and further to do things that she's not comfortable with and that don't bring her pleasure? And how comfortable are you doing those things for her? What if she wants to F you with a strap? What if that turns her on? What if she wants you to suck a strap? What if she wants you to be able to F for like 4 hours, or go down on her for like 4 hours? And if you don't do that, she'll just go to a male escort that can and blame you for it. Like, how many of you men would be in a relationship with a woman like that? Think about it. Jess said, I thought you were AI when I first came across your videos. I get it. I think it's a little uncanny that my face doesn't move when I talk. Like, I agree with y'all. And I'm not even gonna lie to you. I think my mom gave me a complex about that when I was really young. Like, since I was like 11 years old, she was like, stop scrunching your forehead or you're gonna get a wrinkle there. And still, lo and behold, I don't ever scrunch my forehead when I talk. It's a learned skill, people. Dominica says, could you speak more about the active steps women can do to dismantle patriarchy and change society? Keep doing your own thing. Put yourself first. That's the thing that's going to F over the patriarchy in the end. If they don't, do you know what I mean? Like, if they don't get to us first, that's what's going to get it. Live for yourself. Do not look for a man. Never be with a man who doesn't benefit you. Never be with a man who's not willing to either pay you for staying at home or support your career. And I don't mean pay you for staying at home as in pay the bills and pay the mortgage. No, I mean pay you. Pay the bills, pay the mortgage, and then pay you. If he is not well off enough to do that, he's not well off enough to have a child. Sorry. Victoria, thank you so much. And you always look gorgeous too. If y'all don't follow Victoria yet, she has a second, her business account is called Minari Skin, and y'all should check it out. She's got some products dropping very soon. Concrete Pony says, do you hate men? I feel like it's very obvious that I don't hate men, but like, this is what men experience as hatred. What I don't understand about men is like how you can have every advantage in the world, every leg up in the world, every privilege in the world, every excuse in the book, and you still manage to turn out like the way that y'all have turned out. I know I don't hate men because I actually have high standards for y'all. And I actually physically can't stop. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm actually low key have like a lot of guy friends. One of them produces my podcast, where a lot of men would argue we just sit around and man hate. And he does that because he believes in the mission. He believes in the message. He believes that this is going to be like a big thing and that men need to hear this more than anybody. So no, I don't hate men. My dad is amazing. Like, I can call him anytime. I can like talk to him about anything. He was an amazing father, like when I was growing up. My husband is an amazing man. Like, I don't hate men. And in fact, like I'm very prone, like when I meet a man, I always give them the benefit of the doubt. Like once I'm like, especially once there's certain things that I'm like, because I don't meet men willy-nilly, right? I usually meet men in like a professional setting, etc. And it's like if they're not like a dick or straight out the gate, they usually start with me at like 100, just like everybody else. I refuse to treat men any different, right? And it's like people still assume I hate men. And it's like, no, I have a lot of guy friends. I have a lot of guy friends that have come to me for advice about starting their own podcast, or like talking to men, like they're like, what do you really think we should focus on? Like, I know the men are going to hate hearing this, but I'm actually like low key surrounded by good men because I know how to vet for what a good man is. And I'm just trying to pass on that knowledge to other ladies. And that's what y'all hate. And you're projecting onto me that I hate men when it's like, really, you hate me for having a high standard, for having a high bar for y'all. Because you don't believe you can do it. I don't hate y'all. I believe y'all can be good people. Y'all can literally stop and choose to be good people at any point. It's not like I'm not one of those bioessentialist like rad femmes where I'm like, oh, it's the X chromosome. Like, no, I don't give a fuck about the X chromosome. Okay? Like, you can still figure it out. You still have a functioning brain. You just have too much privilege. And like the fact that like a lot of men have been able to figure this out a lot more than a lot of other men want to admit. And that's like the whole paradox is men will be like, not all men, but then they'll also be like, yeah, but men don't men don't think like that. Men are not emotional like that. Men don't da da da. It's like, you're the one that thinks it's all men. I don't. I actually think men are perfectly capable of like choosing their own path. But it's just that a lot of men would rather stay on the path of least resistance, and that's their path. They want to just be carried by a current and do absolutely nothing for themselves. Like Marshall says, a friend told me if you ain't adding, you're subtracting. Exactly. Yep. Chris says, I saw the Matrix living with my emotionally unavailable father. Exactly. Let's see. Oh my gosh, thanks y'all. You're so nice. I think I'm like just finally sitting in good lighting. I've been filming in my bedroom for the longest time and it doesn't have the best lighting. And I finally was like just venting to my husband about like, I can't live like this anymore. Like, I thought this would be more of a temporary like setup and I just cannot get my shit together to like do it. And so he was like, I got you. So this weekend we like went to IKEA and our living space is a little bit under construction and I finally have a desk that I'm sitting at. I have like a chair. So we're getting things taken care of. But thank you for all the nice things that y'all are saying. I appreciate it. Charlie says, does this live come from a place of hurt? I try to understand the psychology behind it. No. So I have actually not been hurt by men. Like a lot of y'all want to believe. I have not been hurt by men. Like I said, if anything, I've been empowered and surrounded by really good men. So you're not going to get me on the whole, like, who hurt you, you've been hurt type thing. And while I will say I have been quote unquote, like hurt in other ways as much as the next woman, right? I've experienced SA. I've experienced like, there's not a woman that I know that hasn't experienced like SA or SH, at least in some form. I have experienced that. But when you're talking about like, who hurt you? Like, no, there's no guy that's ever cheated on me. There's no guy that I ever like gave all this effort to and he like threw it all away. I don't function like that. Like, that's not what I do. right? If you want to date me and the only thing you have to offer is like come over to my house and watch TV, like I'm not going to do that, right? So I've avoided a lot of quote unquote hurt that way. If you really want to, up your dating standards, hang around with Slavic women because you're going to be like disgusted by these crusty dusties that exist in such abundance in America. I'm so serious. Like, I was grossed out. So, no, I'm not gonna date a man who's like, has nothing going for him. Yeah, they hate when we give the same energy back. A man has says, why do women tolerate so much? We've been indoctrinated, exactly. So somebody got you in the chat. We've been indoctrinated, that's it. Like, and we've been deprived of resources and forced to depend on men for resources. So that's, you have to like compromise for that. People don't understand the difference between hating men versus hating the patriarchy. Exactly. Bluey says, tell us how to vet. I feel like I did. If he doesn't bring value to your life, he shouldn't be in your life. And again, this is going to sound radical, but this is how men treat you. If you are not bringing value to their life, they have no interest in you, right? You're not wifey material. You're not even girlfriend material. If you don't know how to cook, clean, and suck dick really good. So if a man can't do the same things in return, why are you with him? You both probably have a job. And honestly, the fact that most men are like, oh, well, you're going to quit working when you have kids. Yeah. What the fuck do you mean? You mean I just like fought a war with like a little alien coming out of my body and it came out either my like directly out of my V or they made a incision and then tore me open and pulled that bitch out of me like the Alien film. And you think women should have to go back to work after that? A woman can choose to go back to work after that because women are really strong and like amazing. But she should never have to. Like, she had your kids. Like, she should get to choose. And this is why women don't want to be with men because y'all think so selfishly. Like, if a man went to war and came back with a dinner plate size wound anywhere on his body, mind you, let alone his genitals, okay? And every time men went to war or to the army, that just happened to them by default. And then sometimes they also had other unintended physical effects from that. Like now you can't sneeze without peeing a little or whatever. Like your Kegel muscles are like all messed up. Your skin is different. Your body's different. The way that you have schmex is different. How many men do you think would fucking ever go to war? Or if like every couple years at work, they just like tore you open from the inside out. Like, how much would you want to work then? I don't fucking get it. Like, men are so unempathetic. So unempathetic. They will watch a woman give birth and then be like, let me stick it in there. Like, I want to actually, yeah, like I am a man hater. Fully and proudly, actually. You know what? I take everything back that I said. Because, like, sometimes I just have to remember. I just have to remember, like, viscerally, like, how common these things are. Because if they were so uncommon, we'd never hear about them. But we do. We hear about this shit all the time. Nurses in delivery wards will be like, yeah, I hear all kinds of noises coming from the room at night after these women have hours from giving birth. And it's like, I'm not going to say nothing else because I don't want to get banned. Yeah, Shayla, like, this is what, like, when people say, like, are you a man hater? No, but I love women. Like, what do you mean? Like, I love all people. Like, if something bad is happening to half of our population at the hands of the other half of our population, how come men are not bothered by that? Like, how come it's only women that are bothered by these things? Yeah, in the hospital. In the hospital. And I'm telling you, there's so many women that are like, oh, I'm pregnant 6 weeks after giving birth. What? You are what? You know, so many women having like Irish twins or whatever. But the amount of men that are like pressuring women into that is also very, very high. Elzo says, 12 hours of labor, no meds, low-key scared of my husband. That's how men should be reacting to women. You know what I mean? They should be scared of us. They're not scared enough. And like, they'll find out because the amount of sociopathic and dark triad women always increases in countries where women are oppressed. You know why? Because that's a survival mechanism. That's a you've been backed into a corner type shit. Megan Nolan says, last guy I went out with Was mind blown when I centered myself and not him. Power struggle with himself. Yeah, most of them will short circuit when you do this. They will short circuit. And what's crazy is like, you will realize how little they have to offer you when you stop doing the shit that they expect you to do, right? When you stop going out of your way to see them, when you're like, no, I actually have to work late. No, you can't spend the night. No, I have to get up early tomorrow. Oh no, we have to stop hanging out because I'm gonna go to the gym. They really short circuit, you know, or when you say, hey, this is something you should talk to your therapist about, not me, they short circuit because you're like, at some point as a woman, you have to realize, like, look, when I get emotional, when I need emotional support, you expect me to go to the girl. You expect me to outsource my emotional support. Meanwhile, I can't outsource yours. I can't tell you to go to a therapist or go talk to your boys about it instead. I can't tell you, like, oh, why are you crying? I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know what you want me to say. Black Pearl, I love you. You know? Yeah, men expect you to stay at their lowest, but will leave you or cheat in a heartbeat. Yeah, also ask men how they feel about women who cheat on them. They don't like that. But when they cheat on women, they're like, well, if you were a real one, you would stay. You would understand why I did that. They don't like it when we cheat, though. Liv says, I'm a SW trying to start over. What kinds of careers would you recommend to women decentering men? I would say try and work for yourself in some capacity, some way, shape, or form. I also think maybe like women, try like women-centered like hobbies or activities like yoga studios. You can usually get into some like yoga teacher training, and I know plenty of people who make a living just teaching at different studios. It's a little bit of a safer environment, more of a women-focused environment. Social media is great. And you can always just train yourself to do something like valuable, like accounting or like tax prep, or, you know, get some sort of like certificate and then just work with women-owned businesses and like just make that your focus. Bilbo Ballbaggin says men aren't lonely, we just like keeping our money now. Good. Like, keep it. Keep your money, keep your company, and keep to yourself. Cat TV says, why are you conflating men like this? Everyone is unique. I think it's the men conflating themselves. A lot of the reason why men are afraid to like do something like anything good for themselves or like try and like retrain their brain is because they're really afraid of what other men are gonna think. Like they would get way more like this is the funny thing about the loneliness epidemic is if men would stop being so whipped by other men, if they stop being so like enamored with other men, they would get all the women that they could dream of. Like the biggest thing that gives women the ick is how men devalue everything that's feminine and how men devalue women in like little ways, you know, like expecting us to pick up after them or, you know, expecting us to do all of the emotional labor. But the reason that men are afraid to change is because other men will make fun of them for cleaning up or for being a good dad or for doing emotional labor for their women. Like, it's men that are conflating themselves. I'm not conflating men. I would have no reason to say all this shit about men if the majority of men didn't act like this and the majority of women's experiences didn't reflect what I'm saying. Oh, Black Pepper Dream says nurses have shared stories about how they have to fight men to get them off new mothers. Like, you know who normally you have to fight to do that? I actually don't even think you have to like fight male animals to do that. Because the females in the animal kingdom will F anybody up that tries to mess with them after birth. Women are too kind to men. Like, if anything, women are very kind because the majority of men are still alive. What are we going to do about the involuntary spinster epidemic? So the difference between a men's loneliness epidemic and women's loneliness epidemic is that women can provide for themselves everything that a man can quote unquote provide for them. The reason that's different from the male loneliness epidemic is that most men lean on women to provide them with very important things, right? Like career support, emotional support, mental labor, a woman's touch in the house, giving them children, right? Raising those children, making sure nothing bad happens to those children, you know, homeschooling or dealing with schooling, etc., right? Most men are not set up to provide that level of value to women. And so on the women's side, it's still a lot more voluntary than it is on the men's side, right? Women are involuntarily lonely because they have nobody to pick from, right? Men are at this point, it's almost like they are voluntarily lonely because women have told men every which way from Sunday how to get women. Like, women are not out here gatekeeping anything. We're actually, like, men will be like, oh, you want us to be mind readers? Nope, nope. Women have been saying, like, loud and clear what we want, what makes us happy, what kind of things men can do, what is important about relationships to us. And men don't want to listen. They're like, I guess we'll never know. I guess it'll always just be a mystery as to why women don't want to date us. Like, and women are like, no, we've literally been trying to tell you for like years how to, like, the best and easiest ways to like get with women. Women are not out here gatekeeping anything. It's like men literally being that stubborn and that like proud that they're like, no, I'd rather have a dry dick for the rest of my life and die alone in my apartment, surrounded not even by cats, but as Shira Seven said, they're surrounded by cans of soup in their tidy whities. That when she was a mortician, a lot of y'all need to put a lot more respect on Shira Seven's name too, because this woman has lived a life. Like, she's not speaking out her ass either. But when she was a mortician, that is how they would find most men. Most men didn't even have pets to keep them company because they're so averse to taking care of another living thing. They're so averse to sharing a living space with something that doesn't benefit them, right? And a pet is really just a burden to men. And so they literally die alone, like alone. So they would be lucky to even, unalive, surrounded by a bunch of cats. They're not even on that level. Not even on that level. Not even houseplants, exactly. Just an empty, sad, cold apartment. Yeah, there is no epidemic if there's no like consequence, right? Like, what is the consequence for women that are not choosing these bottom of the barrel men? Which, mind you, somehow 80% of men are down at the bottom of the barrel. Like, they're fighting. They're fighting to get to the bottom of the barrel, right? It's not even like they're trying to come up. They're literally like, no, I can be lower. I can do less. So, like, what are women missing out on by being with y'all? Women are missing out on an unsatisfying schmeck's life involuntarily. I don't think so. Women are missing out on like a big man baby that they have to teach him how to brush his teeth and how to wipe up his own booty cheeks after he goes potty. Number two, they have to teach men how to not leave streaks in their fucking underwear. They have to teach men that when you leave streaks in the toilet, you should grab a toilet brush and at least not, force the woman that you live with to wipe up your shit streaks. What are we missing out on exactly? The risk of getting pregnant by a loser man who can't hold down a job. What are we missing? A warm home cooked meal? What are we missing? Childcare. We're missing involved fathers. We're missing hardworking men that don't just do the bare minimum at their job too. And what are we missing out on? Men who play video games all day. Men who watch porn every day. What are we missing out on? Men who cannot read above a 6th grade level. Men who haven't read a book ever unless it was assigned, and even then they didn't read it. Men who have never taken charge in a group project and yet call themselves alphas. That's what we're missing out on. Fuck right off. Like, it's not an epidemic. Men and women are polar opposites. Don't change us. Well, maybe you shouldn't be. Like, this is my fucking thing. So at this point, y'all as men have given women our rights, right? Like, we had this window, right? We don't have those rights anymore. But we had this window of about 50 years in which we were almost as free to move about the world as men. We still didn't get paid the same amount. We still weren't valued as much. We still were being SA'd and SH'd at work. And yet, in those 50 years, we now make up the majority of people graduating from college, the majority of people in the workforce, 46% of women are breadwinners in their home. Women are buying more homes, more cars, more everything than men. Women somehow have more savings and like expendable income, even though they are expected to pay for their own like healthcare supplies like tampons, pads, birth control, all that stuff. They're expected to put on makeup every day. They're expected to do their hair every day. They're expected to have their nails done, their lashes done, Botox, fillers, all of this shit. And men really want to sit here and be like, yeah, we're the opposite. Don't change us. Like, you're dumb. Like, you're literally stupid. How can you look at women taking 50 years and doing with it more than y'all have been able to accomplish? Centuries. Meanwhile, women's hands and feet were tied completely together. I'm like, not able to leave the house, no driver's license, no credit card, no business in your name, nothing. To go from that to where we're at now in 50 years, and for men to be like, oh, it's women's fault that we're not succeeding. Y'all should be so lucky to be more like us. Maybe you should rethink that stance, sir. Don't try to change us. Nobody's trying to change you, right? Also, by the way, nobody's trying to change you. Women are just telling you, if you don't change, we're not going to fuck you. And that's what y'all are upset about. Oh, you want us to change? No, don't do whatever you want. Clearly, women have their own access to money and jobs and housing and education. And we are out competing y'all in those things. Don't change. Does it look like we give a fuck? No. Why do they have such weak arguments? Because they are weak. They have been made weak by their privilege. And it's kind of like arguing with a toddler. They have no reason. They're just upset that something is not being handed to them for free. You know, it's like imagine playing Monopoly with a toddler and trying to follow the rules and expecting the toddler not to get upset. Come on. What are we expecting here? Yeah, Christina says the men who are not treating us like property are not having any trouble finding a partner. Fucking exactly. Concrete Pony says my ex hated me because I earned more than him. Shows you where they really think their power lies, right? It shows you where they really think value lies too. Survivor says, what does it mean when he knows you want a ring but proposed without one? He doesn't like you. Also, like, I don't exactly understand how you propose without a ring. Thank you. Christina says, what's your opinion on the not all men? Like, I'm a great example of not all men. Like, I'm married, right? Obviously, it's not all men. People act like we're really saying something like, men will come out here and say women are gold diggers. And nobody says, not all women. Like, what do you mean? Not all men. Also, if it's not all men, then let's act like it. Where are all the men fighting for our rights? Like, if it's not all men. And where are all the men that, like, are bringing enough value to the table that women would even want to date them? It's not all men. The only time that honestly applies to me is when men say that they built society or they built the world or whatever. Not all men. Not all men. Okay? That's the only time that I say that. Evie says, how do Slavic women get better treatment? Well, for one, they just don't settle for less. I mean, I don't really know. And it's like Slavic women don't really get better treatment, I will say. And it's not like, it's not a, be all end all solution, right? All of the solutions to like quote unquote modern day dating are derived from the problems, right? We wouldn't have these quote unquote solutions if the problems weren't rooted in the patriarchy and capitalism, right? So Slavic women get quote unquote better treatment because they have learned to equate their value with money. Like they're basically saying, okay, if you want to treat me like an object, well, here's how much I cost, right? And so it's basically like you are leaning into the patriarchy for whatever benefits it can offer you, right? But you also have to keep in mind that men who want to quote unquote buy you with a bunch of gifts and money, like are not good men either, right? They think you can be bought, but at least is better than a man that thinks you should do it all for free, right? Yeah, they're just playing the men's game really at the end of the day. How can we fight for your right? You're already women, or you're already winning. How are we winning? We don't have rights to our own body. John says, there is no male loneliness epidemic. Exactly, I agree. It's called natural consequences. Sethamphetamine says, okay, real quick, what is women's fault? Not standing together. I know that you're trolling and you're asking this question facetiously. Women's fault is not standing together like the men do. Women's fault is not supporting other women unconditionally just based on gender and not their actions. That's women's fault. And I will unalive on this hill. And nothing has proven that to me more than creating content for women. Some of my biggest haters are women. And it's like, that's our fault. That's on us. It's on us. That women are not standing together, that women don't have girl code the way that men have bro code, that women don't just automatically rally behind other women. They do the same thing as men and they try to discredit those women. They try to win favor with men by hating other women. That's our fault. Internalized misogyny. And that's something that the patriarchy invented. Brittany says, what do you think about the woman that caught her jobless boyfriend with a man? This is why you can't take on a charity case, right? This is why you don't want the men who want princess treatment. Men who want princess treatment want a man. Bananarama says, what do you think about the sprinkle lady? I just talked about her in this live and I'll put that live up on YouTube. So you'll just have to go back and watch it. Shayla says, your opinion on public offender creator. We had him on our podcast. We had a lot of fun talking with him. What I like about Public is that he does lives educating men specifically. Like he doesn't really pander to women. And it sucks that mostly women listen to him, but yeah, he's really trying to speak to men and he does the like slow, tedious and painful work with men that frankly I'm not willing to do. But he really will sit there and talk to them about the patriarchy and like break things down with them and like try to speak to them at their little third grade level or whatever. So I think he's cool. Shout out to Public. Women, Scarol says women hating you is because your message hurts their cognitive dissonance and core belief. Yeah, it's just hard to say anything right as a woman. Like I have even like a lot of mutuals who have like seen a lot of my content and know what I really stand for that will like criticize me in videos. And I'm like, that's fine. Like I'm open to criticism and stuff like that. But it's just really interesting that like women can never do the bare minimum. Like unless I get out ahead of every accusation in my video, like, okay, I'm not a swerf, I'm not a TERF, I don't actually hate all men, I don't actually, I think women should decenter men instead of dating. Like unless I come out and like say all of that, people will be like, well, why didn't you say this? Like why would you say that? Oh, you want women to like center men? Like I thought your message was women should center themselves. Like, we really need to be better about girl code. We really do. Because men get to say crazy shit all the time and just get away with it. And not like that's what I want to do, but it's even more discouraging when you're genuinely not trying to do that. And then people are still like, well, in this one video, you said it like this. And it's like, babes, listen to me. If you check any creator's analytics, most people will watch our video for 2 seconds. 2 seconds. If you look at analytics, less than 1% of people every time are going to make it to the end of the video. So, and what's offensive too is that a lot of these people that will comment these things like, why didn't you say this or why didn't you address that? I did. You just didn't watch the video till the end. But you thought, let's go into the comments and say something. It's really crazy. Like you can put so much work into it and even be like, okay, let me like cover the bases. Let me get out ahead of these things. And it's like, people are not going to watch your video for more than like 2 to 10 seconds and then be like, well, why didn't you say this? Are you a swerf? Are you a TERF? Like, no. Yeah, and women expect so fucking much emotional labor from other women. I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. No, I don't want to do a bunch of emotional labor. And I still do. And that's the thing. And it's never good enough for the women, mind you. Like, don't get me on this soapbox, y'all, because I am like, I've had to talk myself off the ledge many times at this point because I'm like, I'm doing this for women. And it is like, at some point, it's like, I can't keep going like this. Thank you, Liv. Liv says, I hope you're taking care of yourself and your mental health. The work you do is so important. My husband's actually like the number one encourager of this. And like, whenever I just like get down on this work, he's always like, are you taking care of yourself? Like, do you need to go to this? Like, do you need to take like a spa day? Do you need to take a couple of days off? Like, he's always the one that's like, stop pushing yourself. Like, don't do it. So yeah, I try. Part of it is like I genuinely appreciate women's criticism. Like I do. I've had videos where like so many of the comments, especially from women have been like, I disagree, like you're wrong, don't say that. And I appreciate that. Anytime there's a lot of women coming at me with pitchforks, I'm like, okay, got it. But it just gets to a point where it's like people that you think you can like trust to like know your content and like know that you're not saying anything that you don't mean, you know? Yeah, I don't know. It just gets discouraging. Louis says, where do you meet decent guys? I'm nowhere, nowhere, nowhere. Just take care of yourself. Focus on yourself. You're not gonna like the fact that you're like, where do you meet decent guys? I'm gonna tell you something. You are not ready to meet a decent guy. Like a lot of women, when they get to this point of like, I need to meet a guy, like you haven't decentered men. You're still centering men. And I don't say that to like flex on anybody. I just mean that if you are still in that state of mind, a man will be able to manipulate you, right? So if you're like, where do I go like to find a decent man, like whatever, right? This is like the only kind of like quarrel that I have with like the modern day high value woman slash like gold digger content, because I actually think women should be more of gold diggers. Like men are not offering y'all enough gold to put y'all through whatever they're putting y'all through. Okay. And my only thing is a lot of those women will tell you that it's okay to like lower your standards like for a man because the man has money. If you are okay with that, then that means you haven't decentered men. Like that means basically if somebody came along and just gave you like a bag of money instead, like would you take that or would you take the man? Right? So you have to understand that you have to be the rich man. Like you have to be men are very rarely going to give you something that you can't give yourself. And like if you're really feeling like I need to find a man or like whatever, dive deeper into yourself. I'm telling you like there's something still there. Like you're just not ready. You're not ready to date because you're still pedestaling men too much. And again, I'm just saying this for your benefit. Obviously, like you can definitely pop into like another live and you can have somebody tell you where to quote unquote find decent men. You're not going to find them. You're just not going to find them. Like especially if you're looking. And also like those like good men, they like women that are focused on themselves. Like they don't want women that are like, oh, I'm trying to find a man. Like that's not, only manipulative men want that. And they will be able to smell you from a mile away. I don't know how, but they can just tell. They can tell when you want their approval more than you want to put yourself first. Men can always tell when you are able to be manipulated. Lando says if he has money, why would he stay loyal to just you? Lando, because some men view women as human beings and money has nothing to do with their loyalty or their ability to stay loyal, right? This is what I mean. Like they really like tell on themselves a lot, right? If men have money, why would they be loyal to just you? I don't know. Feral Girl says some of these women would take the man and not the bag of money, and that's how you know they haven't decentered men. Barry says men dig for the wealth of a caretaker. Absolutely. Especially those rich men, right? That want to find a young wife in their old age. They're looking for a hospice wife. The young women are dissecting this too much. I don't think so. I also think men dissect us just as much. If you go and like watch the whatever podcast or Fresh and Fit or whatever, all they're talking about is women. Let's be real. If you're over 28, ladies, consider settling. The answer is no. Like, I don't know why you guys don't hear that loud and fucking clear. Jasmine says, girl, why are you sitting up here talking about men all day? Decenter men, please. Thanks. The only way to help other women decenter men, like, I don't appreciate, like, by the way, this kind of goes to like my thing that like women just cannot support each other. How are women supposed to decenter men if they think men are the shit? How are women supposed to decenter men if nobody's sitting up here talking about the realities of like dealing with men, right? The only way to decenter men is to take off the blindfold of the patriarchy. That tells us that just having a man is a good thing, right? Who's going to shine a light on the things that men, that is the reason why they're not worth dealing with and the reason why we should all consider decentering them? Who's going to do that? Do you know how many women have told me that I'm the reason that they broke up with their boyfriend or got a divorce? I'm literally helping women decenter men by talking about the truth and the reality that men bring to women's lives. I hope that helped, Jasmine. And please, like, women, there's all this conversation about being a girl's girl, but like me and other female creators on this app have been literally fucking fighting for our fucking lives recently. Me, Therese, Sovereign Woman, Burb, all of these women are literally being attacked by other women like, why are you in a relationship? Can't you decenter men? Why are you in a relationship? You clearly haven't decentered men. Like, why would you, say that? Are you a swerve? Are you a turf? Etc. All of these things. Like, we need to be better. This was not the case a year ago. This was not the case, I promise y'all. And this is what tells me that we're entering a conservative era, right? Women policing women more. That disturbs me because you are doing the work of the fucking patriarchy. Because you know who really loves to police women is men. And they love to catch us in like a little slip up and, oh, you said this, that must mean that. They love to jump to conclusions about us. They love to critique us without thinking for one fucking second. You know what I mean? Like, Jasmine, with all love and respect, did you think for even 1 second about why the fuck I would be sitting here yapping about men to women that are being like fooled by the patriarchy? Like, does that not make sense to you? Like, genuinely, do you not see the like logic behind what I do? Like, genuinely? But yeah, no, let's keep policing women. Let's do it. Let's see how that helps us to decenter the patriarchy and decenter men. Please keep policing female creators. And not only that, not only are you going to end up with a bunch of people burnt out, like completely. I know a lot of creators, myself, that are like literally like myself, talking themselves off the ledge of like, I want to quit. I don't want to fucking do this anymore because the constant policing is very exhausting. Oh, great question, Lady TM. Lady TM asks, why do they want to be settled for? That's a good question. See, this is like another way that men are telling on themselves, right? It's like, I cannot be good enough for what you're actually asking, so you will need to settle. Oh, okay. Why would I settle for that? It's like you need a working car and you go to a dealership and they're like, hey, best we can do is this car that doesn't drive, has no engine. The windows are all broken. The seatbelts don't work. There's nothing, like the car doesn't go. You're going to have to like tow it off the lot, bring it back home and fix it yourself. Like you're going to have to do all the work just for this car to do the bare fucking minimum that a car does, which is run. And you're like, and they're like, yeah, and it'll cost you all of your happiness, your career. It's going to cost you your own potential because you're going to be like trying just to like bring this car up to its bare minimum potential, right? You're going to invest all of this elbow grease, all this hard work into it. And all you'll have to show for it is just a car that drives. Like it's not even a cool car. And you gave up your entire life for it. How many of y'all would go to another dealership? And if that other dealership was giving you that same deal, like you'd rather, I promise you, as a woman, you'd rather settle for riding the fucking bus than for that car. It's like there's different ways to get around. Don't worry about it. We're not going to settle for y'all. Men and women are lonely because our faces are stuffed in our phones all day long. Do you see how they project? It's y'all's noses that are stuck in your phones. Like, it's y'all that are watching porn and playing video games all day. Every woman I know is not actually stuck with her face in a phone all day. Especially the women that are the most self-conscious about it. It's like, you still have a thriving career. You still have hobbies. You still do so much. And you're worried about, oh, I spend an hour or two on my phone every day. Men are dreaming of that kind of life. And they don't even know it. Like, they don't know why they're unhappy. And like, it's because they don't realize that service is joy, right? There's this ancient parable that is like, I went to sleep and I dreamt that life was joy. And I awoke and I realized that life was service. And once I did the things that required service, I realized that service is joy. So life is not joy. Service is the like middleman between life and joy. So if you avoid service, right? And service, it just means discipline. It means, yes, service to others. It means selflessness, etc. But if you decide that life is should be joy with no service, you're not going to find joy. You're going to find laziness, apathy, and like zero satisfaction in your day-to-day life. And this is what men do, and then they blame women for it. Y'all, thank you so much for the stories and for saying you appreciate everything I do. I hope you know I'm not talking to y'all when I say that like women don't support each other, etc. And I plan to keep doing this work for as long as I can. But yeah, we can't abandon our sister. Thanks, y'all. Yeah, okay, so La Traviesa says for people to think decentering means they're off the map entirely is problematic. Yeah, exactly. And Lady TM follows it up with men date 10 women but still decenter women. Exactly. So you can decenter men while being in a relationship with one. Jojo said, how do people think you can't decenter men while with someone? So people think literally, right? People are not thinking critically, they're thinking literally. And honestly, like a lot of women aren't attracted to men. The same way that I say a lot of men aren't attracted to women, comphet goes both ways. I don't think a lot of women are attracted to men. And I don't think you need to be looking for a man if in your mind, like decentering men means all of them and you're okay with that. You probably don't like men. And that's okay. Good. You know what I mean? Good. You don't have to be one of God's strongest soldiers trying to find love in a field full of shit, you know? Like, that's why I don't think like women should put that much effort into it and like focus on themselves and all that. But also like if you are completely fine decentering men, do you know what I mean? It might be for a different reason than just men suck. It might just be that you're like maybe more asexual, you know? Like that would be, but for me, decentering men does not mean having no contact with men at all. Like, if we have any hope of changing the system and, like, quote unquote, dismantling the patriarchy and, like, getting men to be good people, we cannot deny that there are some men that are good people, right? Because once again, I'm not going to engage in bioessentialism and say shit about the Y chromosome and whatever. And a lot of women forget, like, that there's plenty of women who oppose our women's cause too. And it's okay to decenter them too. But obviously you're not going to decenter all women, you know, because then you'd just be alone. So it's a nuance. See, people don't like things like this day and age. People don't like things that are not binary, right? And I'm binary on some things, but y'all have to understand that even in between the binary, because of like the effect that we all have on each other, the like society of it all, right? We live in a society. You have to understand that there's nuance. There's always nuance, right? Even when you're talking about like the most terrible, horrific people and things, there's nuance. There is like always another side to the story. That side may not matter for the consequences, and that side, you know, like people fail to understand too that just because you can be empathetic toward, you know, somebody plight that has led them to commit horrible things and horrible, you know, crimes or whatever, you can still want the maximum punishment or the maximum sort of like discipline for that person while empathizing with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think Elon Musk should have all of his assets seized, and I think that he should be sent to work in the emerald mines that he gets his lithium from right now. I think that. But I also think that Elon Musk can be explained. The entirety of his personality, the entirety of his essence can be explained if you just watch one conversation, one interview with his father. It explains everything, right? It explains absolutely everything. And it's like, I still think he should suffer the most maximalist consequences for like trying to overthrow our democracy, for trying to like skirt the laws, for stealing our taxpayer money, for doing every horrible thing that he's ever done, right? I still think he should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And actually, I would go beyond our current full extent of the law, because our law does not properly punish white collar crime, right? But I can also admit that Elon Musk would have probably turned out differently if he wasn't raised by a complete fucking soulless ghoul that is Errol Musk. You know, like, the man literally married his own stepdaughter that he raised since she was a kid. And it's like, yeah, people are going to say this is BS. I mean, go for it. Like, if you really want to have such an unnuanced, such a binary view of the world, go for it. But it's not going to help you, and it's not going to solve any problems. Okay? Because I understand the urge, the feminine urge to hate these men. I understand the feminine urge to like want bad things to happen to people who do bad things, right? But we're not fighting these individual men. We're fighting the system, right? We have to keep our eyes on the actual prize, right? And this is what gets people, especially in America. You know what I mean? Especially in America, this is such a prevalent way of thinking that and it exists on both sides, right? And so that's why nothing gets done. Because in America, y'all have been trained to see things as individualistic, as you exist as an individual, and everything that applies to you as an individual. Y'all do not ever stop and think about what do we owe each other, and it shows, right? And so for me, like a lot of people are like, how can you see this so clearly? How can you see this so clear? I wasn't raised in an individualistic country. I was raised in Ukraine, right? And we were not taught to think and picture ourselves as the only people that things are happening to. And this is how every person in America lives. They think that things have only happened to them. And that's why nothing changes, right? Because people are not keeping their eyes on the prize. Does that make sense? That's why in Ukraine, when Putin, like the reason Putin is attacking Ukraine right now is because he tried to install a puppet president that the Ukrainians overthrew because they know what's good for them, right? And they are not thinking on like individualistic levels. You know, they're not thinking, oh, well, this guy's corrupt, but it's okay because he's going to lower my taxes or some stupid shit like that. They're like, no, life will get worse around me. If my people are suffering, my life will be worse. And they understand that fundamentally. And you know what, like the churches and the priests and what they did, the religious institutions, they came out and they formed a line of defense against the actual people. So when like the forces, like police forces, were told to militarize against people, the servants of God came out and stood in front of, and they were like, because we know if you're going to shoot us, the people will know that you don't give a shit about them, right? Somebody saying, sorry, you're wrong about Putin. Please explain yourself because I promise you I'm not. I am very, very well educated on Putin and the USSR and Ukraine and all of that because we're actually taught our history in schools. So, but go ahead and explain what you mean. If you really think I'm wrong, we can talk about it. Anyways, all I'm saying is that the reason that the US struggle so much with it is because y'all are taught to be extremely individualistic. And unless something is directly benefiting you, you don't give a shit about it. And this is what really keeps the patriarchy afloat. This is what keeps capitalism afloat. And this whole idea that you're living in a meritocracy is going to be the reason why this empire will collapse. Yeah, and this is the problem with the internet, right? Wow, they're blasting you, an actual person from Ukraine, about their history. I know, this is the internet. Like, this is what I'm trying to explain to y'all. Is like a lot of what y'all see in the comments, like the edgy comments, whatever, they're people that actually don't know shit. And people feel so comfortable being like, having never made a video on the internet, having never like listened to most of my content or other people's content, whatever, they feel so comfortable coming in and acting like they have all the education in the world and all the like knowledge in the world. And it like blows my mind because again, when you're raised in like different countries, this doesn't fly. Like this doesn't fly. People will put you in your place. And people hate me when I put them in their place. And it's like, this is how it goes on the internet. It's fucking crazy. I'm letting y'all know. Comfortable being loud and wrong, exactly. La Traviesa says, when you point out related struggles as a chance for empathy, but they take it as a Prussian Olympic. Exactly. This is like my problem too with like DEI and people not wanting like history to be taught in schools because they're like, why should my kids suffer white guilt for what like other people did? Like that shit blows my mind. That shit blows my, I don't know. Why does Germany have plaques around every fucking corner talking about what happened during World War II and how they were wrong? Why would they do that? I don't know. Maybe so it doesn't keep happening over and over and over again like it does in America. Nothing has changed in America, right? People are still being unalived by the hundreds of thousands every year. Like we're at war, except for America is at war with itself, right? They're trying to give Luigi the unaliving penalty for unaliving a man who unalived thousands of people just bureaucratically, right? Just with paperwork, with insurance claim denial. The same way that they would punish slaves for rising up against their master. Nothing has changed in this country. Nothing. Nothing. And people still don't care about each other because they believe in this myth of individuality and this myth of American exceptionalism. You're not exceptional. You're just like every other country. You've done the same type of stupid, cruel, awful shit. And the sooner people accept that and start working like towards actual equality, like that's when things might start to change. But this is why men are lonely too, because they believe that the height of manhood and humanhood is to be self-sufficient, is to not have to depend on a community, is to be able to withhold money and resources from people in order to control them, right? That's what it is. And that's the root of capitalism too. Yep, y'all are right in the comments. Control and power, all of that. And this is just how it goes, my love. Oh, Irena, no worries. Catch me on YouTube. Lando says, I'm confused. Aren't you preaching for women to go solo? Yeah, solo from men, right? And I'm also saying that there are men worth being in community with. It's just not most of y'all. Like, it's really that simple. Going solo romantically doesn't mean you can't be part of a community. It doesn't mean you can't benefit your community. This is what I mean. Like, men deeply misunderstand solitude, individuality, and community and how those things can all coexist. They confuse stoicism with like checking out completely. Oh, thanks, hot boyfriend. Hot boyfriend says, legit grateful for this channel. Whenever I take makes me uncomfortable. I know it's true about me. Yup. My husband feels the same way. Casey says, I watched the movie Women Talking at your recommendation. It was good. Yeah, it is good. And it might be the kind of thing that requires like several watches, a couple years apart, especially if you're like a younger woman, because the reason that men really want to silence older women is because older women know stuff just because of experience. As a young woman, it's really hard to believe that most men, because of the way that men treat you when you're young, it's really hard to believe that most men are bad people and they don't want the best for you. They just want to use you. But when you start to kind of age out of that, you really start to see it, right? Or you start to just, you have enough experience, right? Quote unquote, trusting these men to take care of you or to be nice to you or to be kind to you or just to not do something shitty to you. And you learn that they will do it anyway. You learn that when you trust a man, 9 times out of 10, he's going to ruin that trust. And he expects a lot more from you than he is willing to give you. You know, that men will usually transaction bomb you in the beginning. I used to think of this as love bombing, but there's nothing love about it, right? It feels like love, but it's really just transaction bombing. So that for the rest of your relationship, they can always remind you, well, no, I got you flowers that one time. Oh no, well, I used to do all this stuff, but I don't anymore, because like I already did it. Dietima says, the most masculine, dominant, and competent men I've met all know they're inferior and want to be fixed by a righteous woman. Absolutely. There used to be this Ukrainian young woman on this app, and I don't know what happened to her. I hope she's okay. But she had came from like a really rich family. Like her dad is basically like an oligarch in Ukraine, or like has basically the same amount of wealth. And he like all of his businesses that he's ever started, his wife has a 50% ownership in. He does not work with men who cheat on their wives because he knows they're backstabbers in general. He knows that they're going to backstab him too, right? He really values his wife, and like everything that he has is like half of it is hers. And if he ever unalives, like it all goes to her. his daughters have like inheritances and all that stuff. And yeah, other men probably think he's fucking awesome. Other men probably think he's like dominant and like all this stuff, but he knows that everything he has is really there because of his wife's support and like honestly leadership. Joshua Hart, next time you do a fucking live, I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna see how well you do. After being on live for like hours, I'm gonna see how well you do, not saying like or being able to respond to people with like 10 seconds notice. Okay, Joshua? Why don't you go start a live right now? How about that? And then I'll get off of mine and I'll come watch you entertain people. And we'll see how many people show up. I got about 200 people here. We'll see how many show up to yours. Dumbass. Thanks, Kara. Thank you, Lego the Mermaid. Can you explain decentering, please? Yes, and then I gotta go. So decentering men basically means you act like a man when it comes to men. Like you act like men act towards women when it comes to men. And that will cause you to decenter men real quick. It just means not thinking of a man's presence in your life as a pride, because it's not. For most women, if you look at the statistics and data that we've collected over time, women are not benefited by being with men. And until you find a man that actually benefits you and provides you something that you cannot provide for yourself, you don't deal with them. That's how you decenter men. Because this is exactly how men deal with women, right? If they're like, you don't benefit me, like you have nothing to offer me, like your body's not like crazy, your face card is not crazy, you don't cook, you don't clean, you don't care about my O's, you don't care about my feelings, you are not there for me when I need you. When I go through difficult like health things, you find a way to center yourself. That's how men treat you. You are not centered in a man's life, ever. And like if you were, you would know it because you wouldn't be asking him for anything, right? You wouldn't be sending him texts and paragraphs and trying to explain yourself and trying to explain to him why he should care about you or your feelings or whatever. Like he would just center you. You wouldn't feel abandoned and neglected in your own relationship, right? So that's how you decenter men. And men do this not just with relationships, mind you, right? They are not friends with women at work unless that woman can be some kind of benefit, unless she's like a work wife, right? Or unless she validates him in ways that his wife doesn't validate him. I've had bosses that have straight up told me, like, you only got hired because you're young and pretty. And I want to surround myself with, like, young and pretty women. Imagine if women acted like this towards men. And I know that if this has happened to me, like, there's got to be so many women that have just gotten hired and have been told that they've been hired just based on their looks, just based on, like, the quote-unquote other values that they can bring to the company. Or you were hired to do basically all the woman work in the office. And they told you you're going to be an office admin, but really what you do is like make coffee, wash dishes, take meeting notes, all the things that men think that they're too good for. They decenter you. They decenter you all the time, every day, every minute. Yeah. Or at the same time, you're not taken seriously because you're attractive. Like it doesn't matter. Men will find a way to center themselves in every situation. Right? So they're like, she's not actually as good as me at this job. She only got hired because she's hot. Or, yeah, she might be good at her job, but she's not even hot. It doesn't matter. You can't win, right? So just treat men like that. Treat them like they can't. That's how you decenter them. And like, that's how you realize that most of them are just like whiny little shrimp that like will just whine about things rather than actually work hard like women and fix it and like claw their way to the top the way that we have had to. That's how you decenter men. You treat them like nothing unless they offer you value or unless they want to treat you like a human being as well. Facets of Irvi says, yep, and What Men Don't Want Women to Know, which is a good book you all should read. It says men are just waiting for the next best option. Yeah, that's how you decenter them. Like, Ray says, would you say that's misandrist? How's that misandrist? How's it misandrist for women to be like, I don't really want you in my life if all you're going to do is treat me like a maid and treat me like a baby making machine and treat me like an appliance? How is that misandrist? Go ahead. This is not misandrist. It's called self-preservation. It's called, I don't want to be used like a host to a parasite. I'm not willing to become a host to a parasitic man. That's not misandrist. This is what I mean. Misandry doesn't exist because women are not out here unaliving y'all by the hundreds every single day. Once we have that, then we'll have misandry. Saya says, even decenter your dad, especially decenter your dad. Especially decenter your dad. And the reason I say that is because Saya also says, because mine has been giving me trouble and has been extremely transactional. If that's how your dad is until you decenter him, you're going to have a problem decentering other men. So please do. Because, like, your dad has decentered you. I hope you understand that, like, the reason your dad treats you like that, gives you trouble and is transactional is because he doesn't center you as a person. So you need to, for your self-preservation, you need to center yourself as a person and get out of that situation where you're expected to be transactional with your own father. My dad is like so the opposite of transactional with me, always has been. And he could say a lot of shit, right? He could be like, I adopted you. I'm not even your biological father. Oh, I could have just said, fuck, F this, and I could have walked out on you. My dad has never uttered those words to me. Never uttered. That's how I know there are good men out there. A lot of people think I'm a misandrist, but like, I'm not. You're misinterpreting the standard deviation and interest with respect to gender. No, I'm not. With respect to gender, what percentage of violent crime is committed by men versus women? You can't confuse that. You can't confuse that with shit. Will you stay on TikTok if Bezos buys it? As long as they're paying me, I don't really care. If they're trying to silence women, like if there's going to be certain words that I could say, if they're going to like AI crawl through stuff, like, yeah, no, I won't stay. Like if I'm not getting paid, I'm not going to stay. But that's part of how I decenter men. Like if Jeff Bezos buys this, I'll only stay if he's paying me. I'm not going to bring free traffic to his little fucking app if they don't want to pay me. So, Lagoa, that's amazing. I'm happy you had a good dad too. All right, y'all, I gotta go. My phone's about to die, and if I plug it in, I'll have bad sound quality, so I'll probably be back on Thursday. All right, I love y'all. Keep an eye out for this on YouTube. I will post it to YouTube. Black Pearl, thank you. Lagoa, thank you. I love y'all. Thank you, Heather. Thanks so much. I'll probably go make a few TikTok videos after I charge my phones. Keep an eye out for those. Like and share if you can. And listen to the podcast, please. Don't forget, we're on video now. You can find us on YouTube. And we have an episode out about Pick Me Friends. And we're talking to Reagan from F the Nice Guy podcast next week. So I'm very excited for that one. All right. Love y'all. Bye.